competent at this form of ceremonial magic. It is in this ritual to invoke the holy guardian angel, Liber Samic, where detailed instructions for visualizing the angel as well as other elemental energies work together until the aspirant finally gives an ounce of spiritual oil or life force, squeezed through the top of the head for the angel to feed on. The ceremony then culminates with the angel speaking through the mouth of the midge. And it is under this authority that the great work then takes place. The holy guardian angel for all practical purposes is God, Adonai, as the aspirant can see no further than Tifereth, itself being but an apparition, referred to in Liber LXV as an image of an image. This assumes the aspirant has reached Yesod, the lowest point on the tree of life where Tifereth can be apprehended, above the elemental or lower astral plane and immersed in the veil of Kesh. As the aspirant first learned the pentagram rite, star ruby, the position was on the intersection of Samak and Pa, where all invocation takes place. Pa is the mouth from which the invocation is uttered, the God breaking through the egoic barrier into manifestation, and Samak is the direct path to Tifereth. Invocation sensitizes us to and taps into the power of archetypal energy, bringing the macrocosmic and involutionary forces into manifestation. The archetypal plane holds all idealized forms, and by their manifestation do we perfect ourselves, that we might become Azar Un Nefer, myself made perfect. In preparation for the invocation of one's holy guardian angel, the aspirant should work the invocations of the various gods of the Egyptian pantheon. Why the Egyptian pantheon? Well, there are several reasons, first and foremost being that several of these gods are found in the holy books of Thelema. Further, Crowley states in Liber O, the reason for using the Egyptian forms is simply that they have the best defined magical images. These images are easily utilized by the midge in the assumption of God forms, where the imagination is used to shape the clue in the form of the god to be invoked, as one simultaneously identifies oneself with the archetypal energy that the god symbolizes. The series of invocations pursued connects the psyche more firmly to the clue, empowering it on the astral plane. They represent a progressive unfurling of psychic power. The operation order being first to invoke Isis, goddess of initiation, but then moves on to a balancing of all those psychic forces inherent in the aspirant. The danger of ceremonial magic the subtlest and deepest danger is this, that the magician will naturally tend to invoke that partial being which most strongly appeals to him, so that his natural excess in that direction will be still further exaggerated. Let him, before beginning his work, endeavor to map out his own being, and arrange his invocations in such a way as to redress the balance. This, of course, should have been done in a preliminary fashion during the preparation of the weapons and furniture of the temple. Aleister Crowley. The operational theory for a dramatic ceremony goes as follows. 1. Banish and consecrate the temple. Sacred space needs to be set aside for the deity to be invoked, and the magical circle is established in order to provide an environment suitable for the energy to be invoked. 2. Begin the invocation and build the astral god form about thy clue. In this part of the invocation, the attributes and accomplishments of the deity being invoked are listed and idealized. 3. Set that clue high overhead that it looks down on the temple and the physical body, and begin to shape it to look like the deity being invoked. It is at this point in the invocation that there arises a dialogue between the midge and the deity. With each counter recitation, the midge should be moving one's consciousness to the corresponding body, the physical body and the projected God form. 4. The invocation then builds to a dialogue between the god and the operator, bringing the emotional pitch to a strong frenzy. 5. Bringing the incantation to its climax. The god then speaks plainly as the god, and all traces of the midge's personality have been usurped by the god, the ego temporarily suspended, giving way to the god. As Crowley writes, The mind must be exalted until it loses consciousness of self. The magician must be carried forward blindly by a force which, though in him and of him, is by no means that which he in his normal state of consciousness calls I. Just as the poet, the lover, the artist, is carried out of himself in a creative frenzy, so must it be for the magician. The mage is then able to identify him or herself with the deity being invoked, and the god speaks clearly with the consciousness of the mage entirely placed in the shaped who above that is in the god form of the deity being invoked. This consists of a real identification of the magician and the god. Note that to do this in perfection involves the attainment of a species of samadhi, and this fact alone suffices to link irrefragably magic with mysticism. Let us describe the magical method of identification. The symbolic form of the god is first studied with as much care as an artist would bestow upon his model, so that a perfectly clear and unshakable mental picture of the god is presented to the mind. Similarly, the attributes of the god are enshrined in speech, and such speeches are committed perfectly to memory. The invocation will then begin with a prayer to the god, commemorating his physical attributes, always with profound understanding of their real meaning. In the second part of the invocation, the voice of the god is heard, and his characteristic utterance is recited. In the third portion of the invocation, the magician asserts the identity of himself with the god. In the fourth portion, the god is again invoked, but as if by himself, as if it were the utterance of the will of the god that he should manifest in the magician. At the conclusion of this, the original object of the invocation is stated. Aleister Crowley. Invocation of Isis, O serpent woman of the stars, clothed with the sun and with the moon at her feet, thee I invoke. Dear mother of initiation, thee I invoke. Scarlet concubine of mine heart's desire, who guides all mankind to immortality, even I have fashioned thee from a pale image of fine gold. Your robes are sky-colored, bespangled with golden stars. Your hair a diadem of 12 constellations, driven 7 abreast through the dancing circus of nothingness. But thou art eternity and space, thou art matter and motion, and thou art the negation of these things. Hear me, dear lady, and lift up thy voice to aid me in this most dire hour. Redeem my life by thy sacred flower. Initiate my soul and bring me to thine own glory and incorruptibility. Ah, how heartily I am grieved for this poor man in his dungeon, how I would that God would free him of his fetters. Isis am I. And from my life are fed all showers and suns, all moons that wax and wane, all stars and streams, even the living and the dead. O thou light and delight, ravish me away into the milky ocean of the stars. Let this man be free from his fetters. Isis am I. And it is I who decree that this should be. I am thy queen, enraptured and possessed of thee. High do these sweet rivers welcome the sea, ocean of love that shall encompass thee. Isis am I. And I am the mistress of the two waters, the eldest daughter of Kronos, the sister of the king Osiris. I am she who rises in the dog star. I am she who separated the heaven and the earth. I am she who has pointed to you, thy path to the star. Sing the rapturous love song unto me. Burn to me perfumes. Wear to me jewels. Drink to me, for I love you. I love you. I am the blue-lidded daughter of sunset, I am the naked brilliance of the voluptuous night sky. To me. To me. Invocation Osiris. The intent. The first day of the new moon is a powerful time for the worship or invocation of Osiris. Invoke Osiris for civilization, enlightenment, fertility, justice, regeneration, agriculture, judgment, blessings, dignity, music, dance, earth magic, correct conduct, earth mysteries, legal matters, wise rulership, spells and rituals which relate to the spiral of life, growing grapes, making wine, making farm implements, and teaching by example. He can also be invoked for learning not to be too trusting, and attracting a strong wife. Invoke him as Kenti Armenti for magic, and as Serapis for fertility, healing, tarot, earth magic, blessing weapons, and for spells and rituals which relate to the afterlife. The adoration a hymn of praise to Osiris Un Nefer, the great god who dwelleth in Arctu, the king of eternity, the lord of everlastingness, who traverseth millions of years in his existence. Thou art the eldest son of the womb of Nuit. Thou art the lord of the Urut crown. Thou art he whose white crown is lofty. Thou art the king of God's men. Thou hast gained possession of the scepter of rule, and the whip, and the rank and dignity of thy divine fathers. Thy heart is expanded with joy, O thou who art in the kingdom of the dead. Thy son Horus is firmly placed on thy throne. Thy power is widespread. Thou art he of whom the fear is great in thy name of Azar. Thy existence endureth for an infinite number of years in thy name of Un Nefer. Homage to thee, King of kings, and Lord of lords, and Prince of princes. Thou hast ruled the two lands from the womb of Isis. Thy members are of silver gold, thy head is of lapis lazuli, and the crown of thy head is of turquoise. Thou art an of millions of years. Thy body is all-pervading, O beautiful face in Tarchasut. Grant thou to me glory in heaven, and power upon earth, and truth-speaking in the divine underworld, and the power to sail down the river of Amrit in the form of a living be soul, and the power to sail upon the river to the yew groves of Yama in the form of a bee bird, and the power to pass in through and to pass out from, without obstruction, the doors of the lords of the Tuat. Homage to thee, Osiris, Lord of eternity, King of the gods, whose names are manifold, whose forms are holy, thou being of hidden form in the temples, whose Ka is holy. Thou art the Lord to whom praises are ascribed in the name of Ati, thou art the Prince of divine food in Anu. Thou art the Lord who is commemorated in Mate, the hidden soul, the ruler supreme in White Wall, Memphis. Thou art the soul of Ra, his own body. Thou makest thy soul to be raised up. Thou art the Lord of eternity, the governor of Abydos. Thy name is established in the mouths of men. Thou art the substance of Chem. Thou art the beneficent spirit among the spirits. The god of the celestial ocean, Nu, draweth from thee his waters. Thou sendest forth the north wind at eventide, and breath from thy nostrils to the satisfaction of thy heart. The stars in the celestial heights are obedient unto thee, and the great doors of the sky open themselves before thee. Thou art he to whom praises are ascribed in the southern heaven, and thanks are given for thee in the northern heaven. The imperishable stars are under thy supervision, and the stars which never set are thy thrones. The invocation, O noble soul of Osiris Un-Nefer, come to me. I am your beloved son, Horus. By the gods who are in heaven, by the gods who are in the earth, by the gods who are in the primeval waters, O gods who are in the south, O gods who are in the north, O gods who are in the west, O gods who are in the east, come to mine aid. I invoke thee, Osiris. In thy name, I invoke thee, Osiris, and by thy names, Azar and Wizar. By thy names Kenti, Osiris Kentamentet, Un Nefer, Osiris Un-Nefer and Ozar Un Nefer. By thy name seek when dismembered, Kenti Amenti in death, and Seeker when resurrected. Thou art also Osiris Ankhti, Osiris Sara, Osiris Orion Sara, Osiris Bati Urpit, Osiris Tu, Osiris Sikri, Osiris Nechesti, Osiris Etephior, Osiris Tati, Unpa Osiris and Osironofris. By whatever name, I invoke thee. Thou art the patron of the underworld, and the dead, agriculture and fertility. Thou who art a green-skinned man dressed in the raiment of a pharaoh, wearing the Etep crown with a pair of ram's horns at its base. Thou art second only to thy father, Ra, the leader of the gods on earth. O husband of Isis and father of Horus, who resideth in the underworld as the lord of the dead, killed by Set, resurrected by Isis and the ritual of life, bringing eternal life to all the dead. Thy task is the judging of the heart, Osiris, who art the Lord of life and of wholeness, Osiris, who art the Lord of all, the begetter, beautiful being who dwells in Rosto and in thy habitations in the land of the north, thou art Osiris. Of the mysteries, who springs from the returning waters. Thou who art called the Black One, dweller in the funeral mountain, and Kenti Amenti, foremost of the Westerners. Thou art called the Lord of Eternity, Lord of Everlastingness, and Golden One of millions of years. Green and black are thy colors, O Osiris. Orion is thy star. Thou bearest the crook and flail of kingship, the Etef crown, a vessel of water, and the white crown of Upper Egypt. Thou bearest the Tet.11 am vertical column with 4 cross species representing the 4 cardinal points. Thou rollest up into the horizon. Thou hast set light over the darkness. Thou sendest forth air from thy plumes, and thou floodest the 2 lands like the disk at daybreak. Thy crown penetrateth the height of heaven. Thou art the companion of the stars, and the guide of every god. Thou art beneficent in decree and speech, the favored one of the great company of the gods, and the beloved of the little company of the gods. O ye gods who are in the presence of Osiris, grant to me your alms, for I am the god who shall come into being among you. Homage to you, O ye lords of right and truth, ye sovereign princes who stand round about Osiris, grant ye that I may come unto you. O thou who art in thine egg, Ra, who showest from thy disk, who risest on the horizon, and dost shine with golden beams in the height of heaven, like unto whom there is none among the gods, who sailest above the pillars of Shu, who sendest forth blasts of fire from thy mouth, who illuminest the 2 lands with thy splendor, may I be strong on earth before Ra, may I arrive safely in the presence of Osiris. Assume God form, who is this? It is Osiris. I am the Bennu bird which is in Anu. I am the keeper of the volume of the book of the things which have been made, and of the things which shall be made. Who is this? It is Osiris. I am the god Menu in his coming forth, may his 2 plumes be set on my head for me. Who is this? It is Osiris. I have made an end of my shortcomings, and I have put away my faults. Who is this? I am Osiris Onofris who is found perfect before the gods. I have said, these are the elements of my body perfected through suffering, glorified through trial. The scent of the dying rose is as the repressed sigh of my suffering, and the flame red fire as the energy of mine undaunted will. And the cup of wine is the pouring out of the blood of my heart, sacrificed unto regeneration, unto the new life. And the bread and salt are as the foundations of my body, which I destroy in order that they may be renewed. For I am Osiris triumphant. Even Osiris Onofris the justified one. I am he who is clothed with the body of flesh yet in whom flames the spirit of the eternal gods. I am the Lord of life. I am triumphant over death, and whosoever partaketh with me shall with me arise. I am the manifester in matter of those whose abode is the invisible. I am the purified. I stand upon the universe. I am its reconciler with the eternal gods. I am the perfecter of matter, and without me the universe is not. Horus invocation Horus the bright one Horus the beautiful one divine child, who sits rightly upon his throne hear me Horus. O golden child, the powers of regeneration and life are yours. You are the illumination of the sun, the child who sits upon his throne. Hail to you. All nature hails to you, O divine child.
The main reason why I wanted to get that is I've been working on painting up these orgone devices that I make. They work very good. They really do. Um, and I do have a big bulk of my lady friend's jewelry. It's not that I didn't get it to take it, but we had somebody die, like murdered. And the question came up like I was like, well, shouldn't I check out her stuff to make sure there's no bad mojo? Because she told me this story about this guy with all these hats in Galveston and some weird stuff that he did that was very dark magic, uh, dark magic people shit. And I had just set myself to do that. I wouldn't normally mess with her stuff. I haven't heard anything out of her since then, so I'm definitely gonna send this one. It really sucks, you know. The girl's boyfriend was murdered. Of course, she was trying to go out with two guys at the same time. Um, they were in the newspaper stealing a bunch of like tractors and shit. I guess whoever was the fellas, whatever their association was uh, you know, we steal stuff and we take drugs. Those guys. Not that they're bad. I don't want to get stirred up. Myself, I'm not into that. I don't want to be committing crimes, taking trailers, trucks. I don't want to do none of that stuff. I don't feel that's not who I am. I don't like to steal from stores. I steal from myself. That's a rough truth, but I'm willing to put it out there. I had some strange, very strange but cool verifiers today. Other than my friend Victor, basically showcasing his, I don't know, ability to know what I eat for dinner, or hacking my hackable matrix tools. You know, there's only so much about that I can worry. You know, and that guy, if I have to worry about him causing me any harm from being able to backdoor my shit, well, then I really fucked up on my friends. But other than maybe be accountable and hack me, you know, as far as if there's any one person in the world I could tolerate that from, it would be that guy. Now, and I knew there was going to be an opening up where we were going to have to be moving quick and being able to use some of these tractor trailers, not even the same ones. So a lot of my intuition puts me in a spot where I hear certain things, and when they come into, and it doesn't even have to be the same way, it'll just be the same topic. But when those things come available and it just touches on them, you know, don't get it twisted. I'm not saying I basically, in my mind, had that the cops do this, and that bottom line, it was going to cause more productivity to have to happen in my own world. So if you look at how that's reduced, with no strings on those people, you know, I think the girl's one boyfriend killed the other one. and right in front of her. I think she didn't really want to be how open with the fact that she was kind of fucking them both. But that's why you can't do stuff like that. That's really, I mean, seriously, I don't think she's a bad person. I think maybe she was playing the field in the way you do. But I mean, somebody lost their life. You can't fuck with men like that just to get an advantage. On one hand, I really greatly have a bad taste in my mouth about that person, you know, because that seems like a no-brainer. But then again, I'm not always, I'm not, I don't want to take it like I'm judging her all the way or whatever. Another one, my friend Candace. Candace, and the only reason why I went through her stuff, and I haven't got any bad vibes off of any of her stuff, and I shouldn't have it, but I started looking. I wanted to see what was there, what was going on, and it's very rare that I like or have to feel like I need to do that. And at the time, I wasn't able to, but walk around with her and help her get her stuff. She said she was having problems where she's at with some ex-Navy. It sounds like more program. I feel bad for her because, she's in an industry that she has to put everything she has into. I don't think it's worth it. And there's a certain amount of programming that you get in those industries that you can't, if you're in a trance, you don't really get to pick and choose, because if they can do that too, they can do that. She's my friend. There's periodic passions where like I just have this real passionate yearning for her, but not the I've got to capture you. I would just like to be able to communicate better. We're both white wizards, and when we do communicate, and we can, a lot of times I get shit for being all over the place. But I'm a holotropic thinker. I have either the learning disability and I don't think linearly either way. So a lot of people just they call you a dopehead either way, and it kind of has come off a little bit like that because of the jumping topic to topic. But hey, I can. I'm not ashamed of anything that I do. I'm not gonna play the completely sober because it's not necessary. But I am trying to get myself into a better format to be in a position that whenever the day comes, and I'll be here. See, I got this weird Rudolph Steiner thing last night. This I don't know who's putting those things up, but they were telling a story like they were telling it to me about the previous lives and what I was going to have to do. And I mean, other than being that sounds crazy, I get a lot of that where you recognize it when you do. And one of the things I want to say, because it does seem like a lot of people think that I'm in a more um, without peace place. It may appear that way, and that's not true at all. I am profoundly at peace. I have some regrets. I have some missing people in my life, but I don't not forgive them for that being my fault. And I still pray for them and I still love them. So, some people I think, and it's the really intuitive ones, um, chill out a little bit, you know? Don't always be so like you know? A lot more of us are knowing more things than ever before. Now, part of me in my how I've interacted with people to boost them up or to get them to that next place, I've had a full awareness that once a certain amount of them got through, that the reality would change. I'd be on a new timeline, and suddenly I'm the asshole. You know what? That's a willing. That's fine. You know, if a bunch of those people who didn't know what the hell I was talking about suddenly are auditing me on my grand effect of one person affecting all things, and they're reeling it back in at me, that's fine. That was a fucking good move as far as I'm concerned. So will put me behind by taking where I was ahead and playing it out into the consensus reality to make the change, to make the jump over to a more, it seems to be a lot more people that have got that going on that appeared before. No one, you know. So I really don't know what's going on, how it's actually happening, but I am just a person too. I'm extremely good with my gifts. I'm extremely stubborn and hard headed on how I apply them. I'm not lazy in the way that uh, it could easily be seen because I pour myself into what I do, and I'm in it. I'm in it. I don't spend so much time meditating because I've really have a good grasp of who I am. That doesn't mean or to say I don't want to do that, to discover more of that peace and that silence, you know. And I just want to say thanks to all the people who are aware, you know, and all the ones who are aware and still willing to um, just push it on forward. So I'll take some shit. Another thing that I take shit for, and I do this, and it works. Um, in the underworld, where there's a lot of women, there's in this town there seems to be a lot of witches or bloodline or women that think that they were murdered like a witch in a past life. You know, if in the underworld version of the reality, they can unconsciously or subconsciously just be an ass to me, attack me in the type of way as to alleviate that feeling that they were wronged in some other time. And I'm not the one that's done, I've not burned any of you, but I do get a good helping of attack and shit because I've allowed it and I thought it was worthy, a worthwhile thing, you know, because if people can see me in the form, in the astral or underworld as that thing they need to overcome, I allow it. Now, I just hope people would recognize at some point, you know, hey, oh, I see, because there's an expectation of there being some understanding of me, at some point in time. Who I am, what I really am, and what I really do, despite the role that I play. And for the most part, it is a role. It keeps me safe. A lot of people don't. They don't really figure me out. They normally put me in whatever box they've pre-selected for a type of person that I'll do that. I don't feel incredibly alone. Um, I have a lot of love. I do. I'm as alone as I've ever been. Sort of really wishing I could. I really do miss my wife, but I would totally have another one. And I'm really digging this Amanda chick. It's only because someone told me that I needed to like perform the role of trying to be the guy in the place to help out because that friend of mine is well enough a friend, as destructive and mean as she is, to be smart enough to tell me to do that because I've tried to, and I've got a better friend. I don't understand it. It's like turning 14 around some hot chick, and you're not. It's weird. Anyway, that's all I've got. This is the longest video I've ever made. I hope it helps somebody. Have a wonderful night.